Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weather to Watch. It is the 10th of December. Christmas is coming, Wednesday afternoon. And as of right now, we have a tale of two temperature extremes across the country. We'll talk about that. There's snow on the boundary between the warm and the cold. Will the cold last? And can we talk intelligently about a white Christmas for anybody? I'll talk about all that coming up. Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We'll start with probably the most active weather so far here on Wednesday, and that is the radar loop here in the Northeast. So we're looking at Boston right around this area here, New York City right down the coast here. So far, all of this is rain, but the snow is taking over back in this area here. As a matter of fact, if we zoom in on the Cleveland area here, which is right in the center of your screen, the image goes ahead and fills in what it thinks the precipitation type is, and I think it's pretty accurate. So really, you have to go all the way down into central Ohio before you get to the rain snow area right here, and so it's clear to see that all this precipitation, at least the back end of it, is going to change over to snow, and pretty substantial snow as well. Let's take a look at all the warnings in effect. So there's all kinds of things going on here. We have winter storm warnings and then lake effect snow warnings. Now, to me, I don't live in the Northeast. The subtlety between those two is a little bit lost on me. And I think it's because this is not just all pure lake effect snow. Some of this is just low pressure induced snow. And then I think this is meant to be a little bit more banded precipitation, like lake effect snow is often very narrow, maybe only a county or two wide, but very intense. So all kinds of things going on here. And yes, you're reading this right. There's a blizzard warning in effect for the eastern mountains of West Virginia. Let's take a look at what the Weather Service thinks the snow totals will be up here. And in the lake effect snow areas, we're talking about, so the purples are 8 to 10 inches of snow through this area here. And you can see the finger-like shape of very typical of a lake effect snow. So that probably explains why that particular type of warning was issued there. Meanwhile, this snow band is moving across over the next 48 hours and will start to impact the areas of West Virginia that we highlighted with that blizzard warning a few slides ago. And this is snowfall for 48 hours, so through about 1 o'clock, 2 days from now, which would be Eastern Standard Time, would be about 1 o'clock. So some pretty good snows. This area amazes me because this is Indiana, Illinois. This is like their fourth snow that has meant something in the last, let's say, 2 weeks. Pretty interesting. So now, if we go to noon Thursday, take a look at the entire U.S., I want you to note that the storm we were just talking about is departing, but very strong winds coming in behind that low pressure area is what's still causing these lake effect snow areas. So yeah, you got the departing snow band on the back end of that low, and then the lake effect snows kick in after that. Then what's this? Another little disturbance. I showed you that already. That's what's moving this way over the next 48 hours. Actually, more like that. And then we have still more cold air coming in behind that. So this is noon Thursday, and we go ahead to noon on Saturday. So we just skip ahead 2 days. The big old Arctic high pressure area coming on in. Still a snow band from Iowa through Illinois into Indiana. That's noon on Saturday. And then again by noon on Sunday, this Arctic air mass sits right over Des Moines with what could be a little bit of coastal snow on the back end of that low there. They'll have to watch that on the weekend. It might impact areas that are kind of sticking out. So, around the Boston area, Cape Hatteras, those areas, just watch to see if that ends up being winter precipitation. Generally not, though. The warm ocean waters take care of most of that. But this is a pretty good area of high pressure coming in, so that would be the one exception. And then we do have advisories for that next band of snow. Not the current one. Winter storm warnings in northeastern Montana. Winter weather advisories surrounding all that, going down to Pierre, Sioux Falls, Bismarck, all included into winter weather advisory. As of today, 27% of the country is covered in snow. And like I said, this area up here has got repeated snowstorms over the last several weeks. The percentage is down. I think it's probably going to stay about neutral or maybe go up, especially if some of these areas fill in here. And I don't see any warming trends, at least not yet. I'll get into that in a minute. Snow depth is still at its greatest north of Des Moines there in north central Iowa. We're talking about 9 inches plus, maybe 9 to 12 inches of snow still on the ground there. And the one thing I'll say about snow still is we go to the long range forecast. Nothing really showing up in terms of storms of any significance before this period, but December 18th through the 24th, we do have moderate risks now of heavy snow in the mountainous areas of, well, you can see here, Montana, parts of Wyoming, Yellowstone, Idaho, and then up and down the range of the Cascades into the northwest. So just a little bit of a heads up there. Now, does that mean that a white Christmas is done? No. And you have to really kind of think about what does a white Christmas really mean. So if you really go back to the origin in the movie, white Christmas was meant to be upstate New England, basically. So will they be cool enough? Probably. I'll take a look at the temperature trends here in a minute. So I can't say with any confidence I see anything big here coming up. But we've got a lot of time, and all it takes is one little storm to undercut the ridge or a little bit of a blast of cold air we can't see. And, of course, if you start going this far out into the future, all bets are off on a widespread sort of accuracy. In other words, we're not nailing storms with this kind of outlook. We're just nailing general trends. Now let's take a look at the surface and some of those temperature trends. So on this Wednesday afternoon, we clearly see there's a storm here. Very obvious. I already showed you the radar and the precipitation bands that are forming right here, and the eventual lake effect snows that will take over. Ridge of high pressure out west has been a pretty common feature, what I call the bear claw, which is the high clouds coming over the top of the ridge, spilling into the plains. Very common feature on the 500 millibar flow overlaid on top of that. So this is the middle part of the active part of the atmosphere. So in other words, the troposphere is where all the weather is for all practical purposes. And this flow here is the middle of that. So it acts as a good estimation between the jet stream above and the surface conditions. So we still have a broad, long wave trough, what we call that, over the eastern two-thirds of the U.S. with little short wave troughs there, another one there, probably another short wave trough there, kind of hard to say. I think they're combining. Meanwhile, the ridge is where these lines bend up or toward the north, so very quiet out in the western U.S. to be sure. We'll take a look now at the, this is model data, so it's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, but it's, again, model estimated what it'll be at 5 p.m., but it happens to be pretty accurate, though. The cold front runs down. It's already gone through Nashville and Memphis. And meanwhile, cold air is bottled up here against the Rockies. That's what the stationary front indicates. So one bubble of high pressure moving in, but a more significant one coming up this weekend. And, of course, the low pressure there is up there right over Lake Erie. And the west is pretty quiet and fairly mild. These were wind gusts at 1 p.m. Central Time, so we had very common wind gusts over 30 miles per hour, approaching 40 miles per hour on the backside of that cold front, now developing low pressure area. And now those wind advisories have been issued again still for this area right here, as that heavier wind pattern is shifting more in this direction. These areas have settled down a bit. These areas still have a few more hours to go. So this is something I look at too, 500 millibar flow, the EPS mean. So what they do what the European long-range model is twice a week they issue basically the departure from what is normal, averaged over 7 days, and this is the 500 millibar flow. So, and this is the graphic we started with. So when you see this here, that means that the lines dipping southward, the troughs of low pressure on average, for this area are a little bit below normal. So that explains what's going on the East Coast. And meanwhile, the West Coast is experiencing a slight, quite a bit of above normal pattern with the lines bending up. That's a ridge. How does that affect temperature? They're strongly correlated. So this just encourages cold high pressure to come down on the backside of these long wave troughs. So that's why you see the temperature anomalies that you do there. And then also you're seeing very warm conditions for this time of year out through Washington, Oregon, Idaho. And again, heavier snows are forecast for not this week, but the week after that. So things are going to cool down there, I believe. As far as snowfall rates through that 7-day period, again, this started Monday, 2 days ago, and will go through Sunday. I didn't explain that. But you start to see the effects of these little clipper systems, again, moving along. And also you see the little lake effect snow bands showing up quite interestingly as well. As far as the actual temperatures from day to day, Thursday, tomorrow, if you see a green-blue color, it's below normal and very cold, so high around Minneapolis, 17 degrees. Around the Buffalo area, only about 26 degrees. Boston just barely above freezing. Same said for New York State. Florida is cool for this time of year, especially the northern part of the state with, let's say, Tallahassee only 65 degrees. Meanwhile, very balmy out west with readings near 70 in western Kansas. Denver will have a balmy high of 65. on Thursday. If we skip 2 days ahead, you see the invasion of that cold air with high temperatures below zero through Duluth and Fargo and into northern parts of North Dakota. Very clear, but a little bit concentrated cold air. It doesn't affect, it's not slamming all the way down to the southeast. It's more moving in and now moving this way. And then if we verify that with Monday's forecast, you can kind of see, yeah, it's cool in the eastern one half of the U.S., and especially in these areas here, below freezing temperatures through Virginia, possibly. Certainly in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, Ohio, those areas are high. Chicago on Monday, only 22. But then you start to see this real warming trend showing up in the west. And in fact, this starts to show up in the official 6 to 10 day temperature forecast issued by the government. This is Tuesday of next week, so it's the day after the graph I just showed you through the weekend right before Christmas. The country is moderating quite a bit. Very high probability of above normal temperatures centered on the four corners. And much of the country will experience above normal temperatures through that period. With the only cool air really left is around Maine. This is neutral here. And then we extend this a little bit more. So this is Thursday through Wednesday. This is the Wednesday before. So this is not today, but Thursday through Wednesday of the following week. So it looks like cool air starting to make its way into the northern plains again, whereas the southern U.S. is going to remain rather balmy before Christmas. But again, these are all extended forecasts. 14 days out is a long way to talk intelligently about anything. All we can really do is talk about trends. So is it possible that more cold air will invade here? That seems to fit the pattern of what's been happening lately. May that lead to some clipper lows or even low pressure development on the East Coast? Well, that remains to be seen. I'll keep an eye on it and keep reporting on it as weather the watches continue through the month of December. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.